Welcome to the Goofy Getaways Podcast, the show where travel planning becomes part of the fun. Here we share expert guidance, real experiences from our travel advisors, and thoughtful conversations designed to help travelers feel more confident before they ever leave home. I'm your host, Amy Blades, founder and CEO of Goofy Getaways, and each week we'll be bringing you insight, strategy, and support that turns good trips into unforgettable ones. Welcome back to the Goofy Getaways Podcast. It's season 2, and we are so excited. I'm Amy Blades. I'm your host, owner, founder, travel advisor. I have all these titles, and I've decided I'm going to keep saying all of them because I'm proud of each one of them. So until someone tells me I have to stop, that's what you're going to get. So welcome. You're going to notice that the podcast feels a little bit different, looks a little bit different. We have new branding that we're very excited about. And if you're following all of our socials, I know that you've seen that already, but one of the biggest changes, coolest changes, exciting changes are that I am so excited that I get to have advisors from the Goofy Getaways team that are going to join me. So you're going to get some different advisors, different perspective, still stuck with me as the host, but I'm super, super excited about it. Welcome back. Let's do this. Let's get ready for season 2. So today what we're going to be talking about, just kind of starting a new season, is what exactly is a travel advisor. The reason that we really wanted to talk about this is because I feel like there are travel advisors everywhere. And I mean that truly with a lot of respect. I'm not trying to throw shade, but I don't think that people understand what travel advisors do. So I know there are a lot of agencies out there and you have a lot of choices, but since this is our podcast, I'm going to tell you what it is that we do and what we do different. So let's jump right in. But before we really get into our topic, I'm so excited to have each of the advisors that are with me tonight on so that they can introduce themselves. So I'm going to turn it right over to Kayla. How about you? You're familiar with all this, so I'll let you go first. Name, you know the scoop, you know how to do it, so let us have it.
That sounds great. My name is Kayla Hemphill. I am the VP of Creative Strategy for the agency. Basically, just what that means is I do the social media, but I do also do a lot of like this podcast, planning these things out, and a lot of the marketing efforts that you see from our agency. That's all me. But I am also a travel advisor, and I specialize particularly in vacationers who are going to Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando. I myself am an Orlando local. I go to the parks multiple times a week, so I very much specialize in those destinations. If you want to know like anything you could possibly want to know about those, that is my job. I'm your girl.
Absolutely. And she's not giving herself enough credit because she does a lot more than just our social media, but totally different conversation for a different time. All right. And next we have Trisha.
Hey, I'm Trisha Gagnon. I am a travel advisor with Goofy Getaways. I specialize in helping our military families. I have a military spouse, so we know all of the great military discounts and those special needs for our military families because they are quite unique at times. So we can definitely help you have the best vacation and get your memories made, even in sometimes those small times we have between deployments. So we can certainly work with that for you.
Yeah, we're so excited and lucky to have Trisha as part of the team. So thank you. I really love and hope that you're noticing we're really talking about specialties because I do think that that's so important when you're talking about planning and finding the right consultant advisor for you. So make sure and listen to what the ladies are saying. So Laura, last but certainly not least, we'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Laura Durkels, and I am a travel advisor with Goofy Getaways. And I specialize basically with the Disney World multi-generational people. We are really big for my family. My mom goes with us on a lot of trips. And we have little kids that go too. So I'm pretty good at that one.
Hey, and those are needed. Let me tell you, those are sometimes the hardest trips to book. So when you have somebody that is passionate about it, it makes all the difference in the world. So yeah, and that's something to really to talk about as far as a travel agency as well. You can go to our website and take a look at all of the advisors that are contracted with the agency and take a peek at what it is that they specialize in, because it might be something that works really, really well for you. So, all right, let's really get into it here. I really want to talk about what the biggest misconceptions are about travel advisors. What do you guys think is the biggest misconception? And I mean, I obviously have thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts first.
I've got very strong feelings about this one particular thing. And Amy knows because she hears me talk about it all the time. But a lot of times you will see travel advisors out there or people out there even just talking about their travel advisors, saying, well, Disney or insert whatever vendor destination that you're talking about, they pay them. So you're paying the same price whether you book with them or not. I honestly, this like grinds my gears so much, because the thing is when you hire a travel advisor, the whole point of hiring a travel advisor is that they are helping you with your trip. They're not a booking agent. They're not just there to book your trip and like Costco, right? Like you go to Costco if you want to just book your trip and that be done and you're doing all the rest of it, right? That's not what travel advisors do. Yes, we do get commissions from our different destinations and things. And yes, that price is the same for you because those destinations do build those in, but that's not why you book with a travel advisor. They're there to guide you. They're there to help give you their expertise so that you can navigate decisions. Like that is probably one of the most valuable things. Is take Walt Disney World, for example. There are over 25 resorts. And if you have no idea or know anything about Disney World and you find out that there's 25 resorts and that's just the Disney resorts, that doesn't even include all the hundreds of hotels that are in the surrounding Orlando area.
Absolutely.
That's incredibly overwhelming to look at that and try and decide like, okay, well, what's actually right for my family? And so having someone who is familiar with all of those and can know like what your family preferences are and the way that you guys travel, like being able to help you navigate that and suggest resorts that you're actually going to like, those are those valuable pieces that a travel advisor does. So yes, a lot of times you're going to see out there, well, you might as well just book with them because you're paying the same price either way. But I challenge you to go beyond that because that is not just what we do.
You pay for what you get, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
big thing too. And the thing that drives me crazy in my team hears me say this all the time. I think that travel advisors are underrated also, because when you're like, you can just book with them. No, you're not booking with them. It's exactly what Kayla said. You're booking a service. That's what we are. We're a service. Like, yeah, we're going to help you get your trip planned and booked. But what we are responsible for as travel advisors, you guys hear me say it all the time, it's an emotional connection. People are investing money, they're investing time, they're investing their family. And I think it's a big misconception about what we do and the emotional component that goes to that. We are truly investing in the memories that these people are going to have forever. And, you know, Costco, I'll say it, it's a really sore spot for me. Yeah, you might save a little extra money here and there, but I guarantee you are not going to have the same experience.
Yeah, you get to Disney and you're trying to figure out your lightning lanes and you have no idea what you're doing. And then I would like to see you text Costco and have them tell you how to use lightning lane, because I can guarantee that they won't be able to do it.
Yeah, and I just think that that's a huge misconception. It just drives me nuts.
I think people feel like they're losing control of their vacation. Like, I'm not able to do things myself, or I'm going to have to call you for everything. And that's not true in most cases. You still remain in control of your plans. You still have access to the various vendors' apps and whatever they may be. We can just guide you through how to use that and how to help you with that. Of course, there's many things we can do for you. And I think it's just people, they get a little bit nervous that they're going to have to call us for every little thing and they can't make decisions on their own and things like that. So I think just the misconceptions about what we do are just so wild some days. So I can just do it on my own better. I can just do it on my own better and easier. I'm not here to make it more complex. I'm here to take the complexity away. Like, your vacation is hard enough.
Have you ever had, so I'm a prime example of, if I know like somebody's traveling and it, you know, if it's an acquaintance, that's one thing, you know, a good friend or family or like a friend, you know, parents of your kids' best friends or whatever. And like, I'll see somebody at Disney and I'll like reach out to them like, how in the world are you there? And I didn't know. I would have loved to help you plan your trip. And one of the things they say is, I know, but we just really love doing things ourselves. And I'm like, look, this is the deal. I have clients that want me to book every single minute of every single day. And then I have people that are like, hey, look, you know what? You do everything. And another one will be like, no, I want to do everything. And I think
I
that
love
is
doing it with you.
yeah, that's the best part, right? That's the connection. And I say that right in the beginning when I meet with the guest, or, you know, I'll be like, okay, I want you to know this is your trip. And I think that something else is there's a misconception that trips are going to be planned according to each like advisor. And I'm going to tell you, there is no trip that is the same. It doesn't matter. Even if it's your same client repeating it. So you're going to get a different experience no matter what. But I don't plan every single trip the same. I might say, oh, you know what? These are like my favorite 3 rides at Magic Kingdom that you need to do. But not all of us do that. I think everybody does things according to their client. All right. What do you think people assume like our job really is? Like sitting at the computer and hitting buttons all day. Because I'm telling you, I don't know how many people are up at 7 a.m. to book dining or working on the weekends or on holidays to make sure that their clients got the lightning lanes. I'm sorry, it's lightning lanes that they wanted. Or I just think that there's so much that goes into it that people have no idea. What do you think? Does anyone ever have you ever heard anything that they assume that you actually do? And you're like, no.
Well, I know for me, because I am an Orlando local, right? I am in the parks quite a bit, a lot. And I would say that's actually a pretty common, it kind of goes into that idea of misconceptions is a lot of times you see travel advisors out there and they're on these cruises or they're in the parks and they're like, I'm working from Magic Kingdom and whatever. And I won't lie. There are definitely times I like to go work at a resort or go do something because I want to get out of my house. But I'm not just going and having fun I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Being a travel advisor is pretty fun. But there are also hard moments and it is very, very hard work and it's very time intensive. It's very research heavy. You have to be available sometimes around the clock, depending on when your clients are traveling and what they're doing. I think people forget that it's not just booking a trip and then forget it. It's just like anything, there is work that goes into it. Or for me, yes, I'm in the parks all the time, but a lot of times I'm there because I'm researching, which sounds so silly, but
No.
The other day I went to go do all the Cool Kids Summer stuff because there was new Cool Kids Summer stuff, but there's a new Jesse's Roundup review thing in Magic Kingdom. Very cute, by the way. If you have little kids and you need some AC this summer, adorable. So much fun. But the way they made it sound, I was like, are they turning Diamond Horseshoe into a character meal or a show? Or what is happening? And so I was like, I'm going to Magic Kingdom to go figure out what this actually is so that I can tell my clients, now I know what it is. I'm like, okay, it's just a little come and go thing. It's actually not a restaurant right now. You don't need a reservation. There's no line for it. It's really, really great for this age to this age. Those are the kinds of things that I do when I go to the parks. And a lot of times as travel advisors, when we take trips and stuff, right? Yes, of course, they're always for fun. But sometimes they are work too, where we're going and we're learning the product. Just like any other business out there, you have to learn your product. And so for us, it just happens to be travel destinations, particularly Disney, because that's what our agency specializes in.
Yeah, I think one of the next trips that we do, honestly, that is like a work trip and kind of talking, because Kayla and I think we travel together and we do kind of park stuff together, and even I don't know if it's a blog or a video or something about actually following us for a day in the park, because 9 times out of 10, do we have fun together? Absolutely. But the both of us are workaholics and we work a lot. And there are so many times that we do go to the park to make sure that we're getting and learning. It's not just about taking a picture and it's not just about the content of that. It's actually knowing what it is you're taking the picture of. I think a good example too, though, Kayla, when you did the Cool Kids Summer, you did the new Bluey thing, which I was so glad because there were a couple pieces of that you had explained to me that you benefit for your clients to be able to tell them so that their kids know. I mean, there were a couple things that happened, and I just think that experience being in the park, I will say it probably is one of my favorite things to have a breakfast meeting at Magic Kingdom, and then talk about the strategy and all the things and then go try to enjoy the fun, because I do think that's the best way to help your client is when we actually do things firsthand. I don't know.
Amy and I took a conference call together. I was in the Magic Kingdom and she was not.
Did.
And
we did.
We just needed to connect on something. And
you
I
know
went
what,
over to Cosmic Rays and we had that, that was when we were available. So, I mean, park time, travel time is often still work time. And I think sometimes people don't understand how emotionally connected we get to our clients, knowing it's a birthday or this special celebration or, adding that little, and it can get stressful at times because you are really dealing with big events for people, especially if we're talking about a Disney vacation. It's a lot of people, I say it's their first in a lifetime trip because you're always going to want to go back. But for some people, it may be that once in a lifetime trip, and there can be a lot of pressure with that. So
Yeah, emotion. Like there's so much emotion that's connected to
yeah,
it.
but it's great,
Yeah.
to see the photos, when you have families traveling, you get the photos and they tell you, oh, we saw this thing that you told us that nobody else knew about. I don't know.
It's the best.
I know Kayla and Amy, you guys are in the parks a lot, but do you ever like overhear somebody like go, I wish I had known about that, like more like with the virtual queues or the walk-up list, and I was like, you did not use a travel advisor.
And because we behave and we were respectful, we do not do this. But you don't know how many times I want to say to them, oh, like, did you book your own trip or who booked your trip?
You
Because we
wanna
would have
say
made
it,
sure that.
but we don't because we can't,
No,
and
we
we're
don't.
good.
But it does happen all the time.
all the time, and you're like, I could have helped you with that.
Yeah. I think the thing I love about being in the parks all the time is it absolutely keeps the magic for me. Disney is magic for me. And being in the parks, every time we're at the park, Kayla has to listen to me say something that I overheard because it's those things that I see and that I watch that the magic is so alive and real. And I wish that every advisor was, fortunate enough to be able to spend that kind of time in the parks because it really does remind you what it is that we do. And I think at least 3/4 of our agents in our agency all have full-time jobs, but they also do this, giving it the same exact attention to detail as a full-time job. So a lot of times when you're getting a travel advisor from Goofy Getaways in particular, I'm telling you that the amount of emotion that is invested and the buy-in from the consultant is incredible. I don't know. We could
Speaking of
probably talk
that,
about that for a while. But
I would love to put Laura on the spot a little bit. So, as someone who does have a job, I would love to hear a little bit about like what does a day in your life look like as a travel advisor,
yeah,
balancing all of these things.
I will tell you that like report card time is rough because, I've worked all day long. I'm a teacher also. So I've worked all day long with these children and I teach middle school math. So, some people start to get scared when I say that part. And so anyway, but then I come home and I get right on my computer and I start doing, things for my clients. Like I will check, like I'll get an email that I couldn't check earlier. So I'll come home, check that email, some kind of change that's going on that I need to inform my guests, my clients about because they're going in a couple weeks. And I'm like, wait, here's something you need to know, just different. Or I'll get a phone call. Can you call me tonight when you get off work? I have some questions. And so I'll be answering those questions and that kind of thing. And
it takes away from what, I think the other things that you do. And I think it's important for people to realize that. I mean, it is work, like thinking about a day in the life, like you're working a full-time job and then you're going home and you're doing all of those things, making sure that your clients have what they need.
Well, I also live in Central Time Zone. So I have to wake up that extra hour earlier to book those dining. Yeah. And for Bippity Boppity Boutique, though, I only have to stay up till 11, not 12.
I do miss that.
So there's that.
Some good things about those changes. But yeah, what would you say, Trisha? Like if you were thinking about kind of behind the scenes, you're another one. You have a pretty important job. You have a full-time job and you're, a mother and a wife. But what do you think when somebody asks you, or what do you think that they would be surprised about, like getting a glimpse kind of behind the curtain?
I think how much I involve my family. A lot of times if, I have a client who's about the same age as my daughter, I'll ask Savannah, I'll be like, hey, Savannah, I have a little girl going to Disney next week. What do we got to tell her she's got to do? Or if my husband, if we're, if I'm working with a veteran who may have PTSD, hey, can you help me give some coping strategies? Can we really, help this veteran? What are the things maybe he needs to avoid or she needs to avoid? And so I try to, because it can take time away from your family. So I try to get my family to help me help my clients. And Savannah is even like, Mama, can I be in Goofy's when I grow up? So we're training that next generation. And I think for me, it is kind of giving that magic to that next generation to kind of, to keep going. And it can be a lot at times. You work all day. We've got kids' activities in school. But it just comes down to, it's that emotion, that excitement or that, oh my goodness, you saved me. You saved me. I didn't know about that. You got that reservation that I thought nobody could get because I am stalking the websites for you. If you want that hard to get dining reservation, I'm going to stalk it. I may not get it till the day you leave, but I'm going to get it.
What you said earlier about the best part. And I've said that for so long too. Getting up at that early time or getting that reservation when you get that picture of that child or that whatever. I'm an adult and I love
Yeah.
characters. That's the part that it was worth it, right? I mean, to me, that's the part that's like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, or that's why we do what we do. It's just
Yeah, those little
that
things.
connecting piece. Absolutely. It really, yeah. What do you think when it comes to people always talking about like the value, okay? Like the value of a trip or the value of planning for a trip. Or a lot of times people think, oh, if I use a travel advisor, they're going to be able to, get that best deal for me. And obviously we monitor vacations, but I also think it's important for you pay for what you get also. And we're not selling a discounted, like when somebody comes to me, I do not ask them a budget. I want to hear what it is that they want. I want to hear what experiences that they want. We can build a trip on any budget. We can really try. So I don't want that to come across that, oh, the Goofy Getaways is only booking trips that are, no, that's not what I'm saying. I just think when we think about like a price point and sometimes people in their mind associate, well, the only reason I would book with a travel advisor is because they're going to get me the best deal. What are your thoughts on that?
I also have very strong feelings about this. I always tell my clients that I like to help them plan priorities first, not price first. And so I will often, when I do like my consultation calls with my clients or those beginning emails, I'll ask them like, what are you wanting to get out of this trip? Like, are you wanting to spend a lot of resort time? Are you wanting to have like time in your room where you can relax, or if you're on a cruise, like so that you can go and look out the window or sit on your balcony and look at the ocean, and like what is the feeling that you want to get out of your hotel? Or are you somebody that you just straight up are like, nah, we're never at our hotel, we just sleep there and then we go do other things? Because neither of those answers is wrong. But if I just throw a resort at you without talking through some of that, you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to pick the cheaper one because duh, why wouldn't I pick the cheaper one? But that doesn't always mean that it's the best. A really great example I have, I'm actually in the midst of planning a trip for like a mother-son, like solo parent duo. But I know initially when we were talking, because she had actually been to Disney last fall and had a blast and they had so much fun. And so she wasn't like super clueless about it. Like she knew what was going on. And so she was like, we were kind of thinking about maybe doing Port Orleans Riverside because that resort looked really fun. And I was like, great, awesome. But as I was starting to talk to her, she was saying that like one of the things that was really important to her was that she just didn't want to feel stressed out. Because obviously when you're a solo parent traveling with your kid, that's a lot. And so she was like, we really want to focus on Hollywood Studios and Epcot this time. But like, I know sometimes like the buses make me a little nervous because I've heard like this and that and the other thing. And I was like, well, if Epcot and Hollywood Studios are something that's important to you, why don't we put you at, and we ended up at the boardwalk. And I was like, the thing is you can walk to Epcot and they have the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios. But I told her, I was like, did you know they also have a walking path to Hollywood Studios? It's like a good like 15-20 minute walk depending on how you do. She was like, wait, really? I had no idea that that was a thing. And we ended up doing that. And she's like so stoked about it because that never would have been on her radar had I said, okay, what's your budget? I instead was talking to her like, what do you actually want? Because she's one of those that she's like, I value, like, I'm willing to spend the money if it's going to make my trip better, right? Obviously, we're not going to go like crazy. I'm not going to put her at the Grand Floridian and make her spend a crazy ton of money for no reason. But the boardwalk just made sense for what they were wanting. And so I think when we say like, we don't necessarily, you're just going to hunt for the best deal. That's not really what we're for. We're here to actually give you advice on what you're going to enjoy, because you can do a cheap resort and you can love it, or you can do a cheap resort and you could hate it. It's the same thing with spending a lot of money at a resort. You can spend a lot of money and love it, and you can spend a lot of money and hate it. And so that's really where our discernment and being able to talk to you is so incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And I think as an agency, something I really do pride our agents with is that first conversation with a client. You can call anyone or email correspond back and forth, right? You're not going to get that same connection as having that initial conversation, because what our job is to see what is the vision that this client, this guest has for their trip. And then once we do that and you take the extra time to listen to what it is that they want, it's going to be so much easier to plan. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
One of the questions that I ask, do you like food courts or do you like the sit-down restaurants?
Such a
Because
good
the
one.
quick
Yeah, that's
service
such a good one.
versus the
It is.
well, I
It
mean, if
is.
somebody really wants to do the table service meals, I need to know because I don't want to put them at, all-star music for their family of
Fair.
5 if they don't want a food court.
Fair.
So I kind of
Yeah.
I kind of ask that question just to see
And
what's
it all
going on.
comes down to that's the knowledge of what we know what we do and we know the products that we sell. I think that's why it's so important knowing exactly what an experience. And I even will talk to clients about, hey, I haven't had this experience, but I can tell you like I've had a client that has, or I have another advisor that has, or that's the thing that I love also about our company is there's no competition. And that's no joke. I mean, that is so true. And everybody wants to help everybody. And with the amount of agents and the experience that we have, I'm telling you, any question I think can be answered from somebody. And so
Somebody always has the answers, or,
I agree.
and we can reach out to each other very quickly through various methods, and you'll get 5, 10 different answers that are super helpful. So the knowledge, you're not just hiring one person, you're hiring this whole team of people. And I tell people all the
Yes.
time, I'm like, we got agents that are doing these things all the time. People in the parks, people on cruises, they're living this, they're experiencing this. So when we're telling you things, it's because we're going and doing it. We're not just selling you something. We're researching it. We're digging in. We're getting that information. We want you to have the best information, the right information. And there's so much value to this team that we have. I know I've reached out, many times on things that I
Yeah.
just didn't know because nobody can know everything, and then people will reach out to me. Hey, Trisha, I've got this military client. Where can we point them? And, we do a really good job as an agency. And, I think you're hiring all of us. You're getting us all.
You have a team of people that are going to all kind of jump in and give you different ideas or I don't know. I think, and Kayla and I talk a little bit about, cheapest does not always mean it's the best value. And I think that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a cheap vacation. Let's talk about the value of the vacation because those are two very different things. Yeah, I think that you can put together absolutely incredible, magical, memorable trips, whether you're staying at a value or you can stay at a deluxe. I mean, you can, exactly what Kayla said, you can book a trip for somebody that, a $30,000 trip and they come back and they're like, well, that's where we stayed, but nothing else was taken care of for us. It's all about the vision that they have for their trip, knowing what it is that they think that they want and then putting it all together for them. That's the best part of our job. I think it's my favorite part. Sometimes it's like a puzzle and you're just trying to put the puzzle pieces together. There are a lot of options out there, but hopefully we've given you a little glimpse about why Goofy Getaways would be a good choice for you. You can learn more about our services by visiting goofygetaways.com/how it works, or you can visit the link in the description. Reach out to us because we would love to help you plan an amazing vacation. All right, so next up, we're going to talk about ChatGPT. Let's talk about why ChatGPT will never plan the same kind of trip that a travel advisor can. And let me say, hey, ChatGPT has its purpose. So we're not saying anything about that. But I will tell you, if you have ChatGPT plan a trip for you and you have someone at Goofy Getaways plan a trip for you, I guarantee you it's going to be better when you've got somebody that's really, really zoned in on exactly what it is that you want. So you guys, let's just jump in and talk about it because I cannot tell you how many times I have heard people say, I just ChatGPT. Okay, well, that's fantastic. Not a Disney trip, I'm going to tell you right now. Let's call a spade, though, right? There's so much information online, and everybody thinks that they're an expert. And you know what? There are a lot of people that are experts. I'm not saying that they're not. But you have to really be careful with ChatGPT in general because you need to cross-reference and kind of check because there are times that you can pop something in there and they'll be like, oh, make sure that you are getting and I do this all the time because I still call them fast passes and I don't mean to and I always correct myself. But when you've been doing this and they change the names of stuff, right? But you do have to go in and take a look because sometimes the thing, planning this trip for somebody, you pop it in there and then you read like half of the stuff that they're telling you to do isn't even relevant anymore. Agree?
Agree.
Well, and a huge thing that people need to remember about ChatGPT is that it is AI, yes, but it's not an actual thinking machine. It's a code. And what it does is it's scanning articles on the internet and it's scanning websites. And it's not always going to pick the most recent thing or the most up-to-date thing. So I know for me, a lot of times Like if I'm going through, and I do like ChatGPT for like helping myself like build outlines for things and stuff. I do use it quite a lot. And I know everybody has like such different feelings about it. But I think that there is a place for it. I just think that you have to be intentional with it. But there are a lot of times where I'll be like typing out something and it'll tell me like, oh, Genie plus this and Genie plus that. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a thing. And I've told it many times. I said, dear Chat GPT, this does not exist anymore. You have to call it this. And it'll still say Genie plus. And it's just those kinds of things that you gotta be so careful, because it's not like a person sitting behind a computer tapping out the answers like Cha-Cha back in the 90s, right? Or 2000s, whenever that was. But sorry, derailing myself. But it's just a computer that's scanning the internet, which you yourself can do. But same thing, even you yourself with your eyeballs, when you're going and reading blog posts and you're reading articles and stuff, you got to check the dates on things and see like this post was actually from like 2017. That information is probably irrelevant. Heck, even stuff from 6 months ago can sometimes be irrelevant. The Bluey thing. The new Bluey thing is such a huge example, right? They made this big deal about how you were going to have to do a virtual queue and it was going to roll out with this whole thing. Y'all, that lasted like 4 days and they made a big deal about it. And I guarantee you that there are a ton of people traveling this summer thinking that they're going to have to do a Bluey virtual queue, because that was what was so pounded out on the internet. And now they don't do a virtual queue anymore. And so it's just things like that I think that there is a place for ChatGPT. You just have to.
I do too. And that's the thing too, right? And I use it too. It has its place. I agree completely. I think maybe instead of talking about what ChatGPT doesn't do for you, how about instead, I would really like to focus on what exactly are the personal touches that we do as agents, as an agency, that ChatGPT doesn't. I think that's truly more. They can spit out your itinerary, but I guarantee you they can't tell about that personal experience on an attraction or at a restaurant, or the snack that they wanted, or what should I wear in December, or what should I wear in, how many times does it rain, and do I need a poncho? Like there's so many things that they really don't know. Do you have any kind of strategies when you're planning trips for people, depending on what trip it is that they want, but anything that you really kind of stick to that works for you as a consultant?
So I can share a little bit about what I do with my clients. So and every advisor has a totally different process and how they like to work with their clients. And one way is going to work well for some clients and another way is going to work well with others. And that's something we'll talk about later, is like finding the right person for you. But one of the things that my clients really enjoy is I have this app that we use, and it's a collaborative tool. And what I use it for is that on my end, this is where I put things like the park guides that I've made from my personal experience with my tips and tricks and all of those things. Like I can have those in there. It's where I can put reminders to make sure that they're remembering to do things. Like, for example, I have some cruise clients traveling in January. Like I have little to-do lists to help them remember, like, okay, you need to go make sure your passports are updated, make sure you have your documentation, because it takes this long and you just want to, and I'm able to like make sure that they know. But additionally, it's collaborative. So they themselves can add their own notes, their own checklists. They can ask me questions through it. And so like, that's kind of a newer tool that I like to use, where like emails are totally great. And we absolutely still do a lot of conversating through emails. But I just like that it's a little more user friendly, of like, if they have a question about a particular guide, they can just go on that thing and say like, okay, you said this, can you explain this a little more? And then we can have more of a conversation about that. And we can actually dive a little bit deeper. And it makes it more fun too. Like it's exciting. It's fun because you can see all your trip details laid out. You see your itinerary, you have those to-do lists and countdowns, and you're like, oh my gosh. And so we can get excited together. And I can be like, oh yeah, you have this many days until your trip. Or like, oh my gosh, okay, it's time to do this next thing. And you're just not going to get that kind of excitement from a computer.
No.
You just don't. Like, you don't get that person celebrating with you like you do
each milestone of the trip and the planning, right? And it's relevant. And I know exactly what Kayla's talking about that she uses, and I've seen it, and it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. And I love that it's at your client's fingertips. That's the biggest thing. They pull it right up on their phone. You know, I am old school as far as I really do still like to send clients before they leave something that they can actually see that's in their hand, right? Like I still like to give them something. Of course, I always put it in email as well so that they can go back to it. But it's just the different styles of the different advisors that you work with. But, a staple is, I think, the way that you, like your travel booking style is the way that you start off the conversation from the very beginning with a guest, and then how you plan that, how you communicate that. Everybody has a different style and little things that you do for your clients. I mean, one of my favorite things to do, or I like to do even, and it doesn't have to be expensive, but just little care packages. I have for years always made pixie dust that I always put in like a final care package for kids. And it's like sand with some glitter, and you just put make it look really cute, or just the little tiny things that you do for people, or you notice what are the kids' favorite characters. And just you're not going to get anything like that from AI. It's all going to be that personal, obviously, part of planning, and then sending them off, and then obviously being vested in how the trip was when they return. I think you're not going to get that from AI either. Like, I genuinely want to hear, what were the things that worked? Was there anything that didn't work? I think those are the type of things that make us stand out in the industry for sure.
I think AI is very point in time. It is when you ask the question, what you asked at that point. It cannot intuitively go and find things as they change for you. Your AI isn't going to send you a text when Bluey is no longer a virtual queue, or when Muppets is now a Rock and Roller Coaster is now Muppets. AI is not going to say, hey, by the way, you're leaving tomorrow. This changed. And especially with Disney, we do see those changes, and they can happen fairly quickly. We're lucky enough that we often can get some heads up on those, so we kind of know. But AI cannot go in and look for things unless you're telling it what to look for. So AI, it's a search tool.
Yeah, like the price monitoring, right? You're not going to get that from just anywhere either. Yeah, I love to watch the different specials come up for my clients. Number one, it's going to save them money, but I'm telling you that 9 times out of 10, when I'm able to save my clients some money, they are going to say, you know what? Hey, we were already planning on spending that. So, hey, maybe we will upgrade our dining, or you know what? Maybe we will do that preferred room. And I guarantee you are not getting that from AI. It's those little things that make a huge difference.
I think the support and advocacy aspect is also so big. And that, I think, it can be one of the single most important things, or single most important reasons to hire a travel advisor, is the advocacy that they have for you. They're going to be the ones that are calling in your room requests, but they're also going to be the ones that are there when things inevitably go haywire, right? You miss your flights get canceled, your hotel gets overbooked for some weird reason, or your shuttle isn't where it needs to be at the time it needs to be, or your confirmation gets lost, or all of these, your lightning lanes aren't working, or like all of these crazy little things that do happen a lot more. You don't think they're gonna happen, but as people who have done this for a long time, like, it happens all the time. Having a real actual person who knows how to navigate those situations, instead of you yourself when you're in the middle of your vacation and that happens and you're trying to figure it out by yourself, when instead you could literally just text your travel advisor and be like, hi, help. And then they can say, I got you, right?
Absolutely.
That peace of mind, there is no price you can put on that kind of peace of mind. Like,
yeah,
that,
I agree.
if anything, that is the reason why you hire a travel advisor, right? And ChatGPT sure cannot do that at all.
I had some clients that were there during a hurricane. When was that? A couple of years ago, and they're like, we're leaving. Can you do something? And so, I was like, you get out of there safely. You go. Yeah.
Yep. And I'll take care of the rest. Absolutely.
I was actually there during a hurricane prior to being a travel advisor, and I had used a travel advisor. And I'll tell you, it was the single most thing that saved my sanity, was being able to call this person, because I had no idea. I wasn't in the industry at that point. Being able to call them, and she did exactly that. She's like, I got you. She's like, you go do your day, and your hotel's going to be taken care of. I will let you know when everything is all set, what you're going to do, and you just go. And like you said, just that. I got you. My clients don't need to worry about this stuff on their trips.
Yeah. I always say to my clients when they're going to travel, like right before, I always love to do just a little check-in with them. And I'll always say, okay, now if you need anything at all, you need to you can text me, email, whatever, because remember, you're on vacation. I'm not. This
right.
is my job every day. Like, you enjoy your vacation, and I'm going to take care of the things for you to make your vacation smooth as long as I can, as long as you're there. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part. Just being able to, it's not my favorite part when we have to solve all the problems, but like when you can solve them or, change the dynamic of a trip because something happens, right? I mean, unfortunately, you've had clients that have had tragedy in their family or something's happened, they've gotten sick, or I mean, things change. And just knowing that you have somebody that's in your corner, I think is a really big asset for sure that you're not going to get from the other place.
I also want to talk about, so kind of in the ChatGPT vein, but like also not, because this is kind of the hybrid, like human element, but like not great human element, Facebook groups. It's so funny. So obviously I like all the techie social media things because that's just what I do, right? And so one of my favorite things to do is follow all of the tips and tricks groups. They do boil my blood a little bit, but they are so eye-opening to how much people don't know. And I don't mean this as like throwing shade at people, but we've talked about how discernment in helping people navigate decisions on like how to choose your hotel and how to know what restaurants to do and all this stuff. And a lot of times what people will do when they're DIYing their trips is they'll go to the internet, right? And they'll say, help, I'm doing a Disney trip. Give me all your tips and tricks. And they get flooded and bombarded with information that might be correct, might not be correct. It's also Tim, Joe, and Sally's favorite hotel because of this X, Y, and Z thing. But Tim, Joe, and Sally love to go to the park sun up to sundown. And you are someone who likes to chill, right? And they don't take your family into consideration. And so, yes, again, I like these things for like inspiration, but I don't like them for planning. And there's a big difference. Having a travel advisor who knows those experiences, they can ask you, okay, so how do you feel about X, Y, and Z thing? Okay, because you feel about that way, this is what I am going to recommend. Whereas when you ask the internet, they're not asking you those questions. They're just saying, well, I did this, and this is what I liked 4 years ago, and it doesn't exist anymore. But they don't know that because they haven't been in 4 years, right? And so that's a huge thing that I caution people with is totally nothing wrong to going with the Facebook groups and looking in there, and you can ask your questions and stuff, but like make sure you're talking to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, right?
Well,
That's
I
why you
encourage
hire.
them to ask questions, right?
Yes.
Because that is, sometimes it can be frustrating. And I'm like, look, I want you to ask all the questions. So if you heard something from your cousin's best friend's brother-in-law, absolutely, I want to be able to answer that for you. But it does make it so difficult when there are so many things that are incorrect that are out there. That makes it really hard too. And I'll be like, look, you came to me to plan your trip because you wanted somebody that had the experience. And I'm not telling you that I'm the be all end all. I'm not saying that at all, but I will say, like, trust me. I'm going to give you every single angle to look at with whatever question it is that you have. I'm not going to just give you like what my opinion is. I'm going to say, hey, this is what I think, but this is also what I know from talking to other people. But yeah, that's a good one, actually, Kayla. Those groups, boy, those can be something. That was a really good point, though. I mean, you can definitely get some really good, I'm not saying you can't get good info. I mean, TikTok, I love to watch TikTok because the snacks at Disney, you got to try this or try this. There are definitely things that I never would try without it. So I'm not saying don't be informed, but yeah, make sure that the information that you're getting is coming from a source that knows what they're talking about, right? I guess that's more the difference of what I'm talking about. So I think that the whole thing is that the travel planning process, when you're investing your time, your money, your energy, all of those things, it really should be exciting. It shouldn't be stressful. And so that's our task, right? That's our job, to make it less stressful for you.
I like this analogy is, yes, you can DIY a trip. You can also DIY getting your nails done or getting your hair cut, or you can DIY buying a house, or you could DIY remodeling your bathroom, right? But when you do that, the real cost is your time, your energy, your stress level, and having to navigate those things on your own. Whereas when you have a professional who knows what they're doing, yeah, there's sometimes a cost associated with that, but at least you know it's going to be done right and it's going to be done well, and you're going to be much more satisfied with the product at the end because you didn't have to worry about it, right?
Right. Like if you need your tooth pulled, are you going to go to the dentist or are you going to go to the neighbor? Like, let's just
You
be
can.
honest.
You totally can. And
Okay,
there's-
yeah, you can.
You know,
I said, are you
it's one
gonna?
of those like you
It's
can.
the outcome.
but-
That's what all I'm saying. You can, but what's the outcome going to be? Hey, I don't know. Just saying. Like I said, vacation should definitely feel like fun. And that's exactly what we're here to help you with. That's exactly what our job is as an agency. So you can get started by planning your vacation by visiting goofygetaways.com/book your trip, or you can visit the link that is in the description. It's time for traveler stories, because sometimes the best way to explain what we do is to let our travelers tell you themselves. So this is from the Tamplin family, and I'm just going to actually read exactly what it says. Working with Lauren was like working with a best friend that's trying to set up the most magical experience for you and your family. She was super quick to respond and so very helpful. She was beyond supportive throughout the experience from the time I asked her if she could help me out until the day that we came back from our trip. Not only was she kind, available, and extremely knowledgeable, she was extremely caring throughout the entire process. I highly recommend working with Goofy Getaways if you want your vacation planning to be absolutely seamless and just really be able to enjoy your time away rather than planning and worrying about trying to fit everything in. Goofy Getaways is amazing. So huge thanks to the Templin family that took time to recognize Lauren, who absolutely is amazing. So if you would like to share your story, we would absolutely love that. And you can do that by sharing your story using the link in our description. I think it's really important to talk about how to find the right travel advisor for you, because everybody has a different style, which is what I love about the diversity of our agency, is that there's so many knowledgeable people that you can choose from, right? And I really want to have a conversation, and just a really meaningful conversation, and get your guys' perspective on even like before you became a travel consultant and when you were thinking about what it was that you would need, finding the right person for your trip, like talking about that, but then also talking about the type of travel advisor that you are if somebody is looking to book their trip with you.
What I was looking for was mostly somebody who would hear me, because like you said, you can get all the information. You can get it if you want to look for it. But I really wanted somebody who would hear our needs, our specific needs, our wants, and what we really wanted to get out of our vacation, and help me find that without having to spend 12 hours on the internet searching Facebook groups or outdated articles. I didn't want to do that. I wanted somebody who knew what they were talking about so they could lead me to the right decision for my family, to help me kind of narrow it down. 25 plus resorts. Do we want to do this character meal? What ride is great for somebody who does not like heights? Or what rides am I going to avoid because I get motion sick? You can't get that from, I mean, you can eventually, but somebody who had it all right there. And I think for me, that's what I look for the most. And when I'm trying to plan with my clients is really, what are your unique needs? What can I add to your trip that is really, really going to make this over the top for you, both stress-free and memory-wise? Parents, always get the memory maker. Please, moms, get in those photos. Things like that. And I get that comment more than anything. I've never had family photos because I'm always the one taking the pictures, So I think it's just really listening and hearing your clients and what they really need. Nothing is cookie cutter in this industry. Not one cruise, not one Disney, not Universal, all inclusive. There are thousands of options, and I just want to get the one that works for them.
Yeah, and don't you feel like every trip, even when you think about trips for yourself, are different? Any family vacation
Entirely.
you go on, it's like, I might want something different out of this trip than what I got on that trip, or we did this on this trip, but I want something different. And just really listening is key, right? I think we probably get more from listening to what people's needs and wants are than doing all of the talking that first time, for sure.
Even my own Disney trips are different if I'm going with my kids or, without my kids.
Right.
It's a much different
We won't
trip.
tell.
We don't tell.
We will not tell them. Yeah. How do
Take the trip without your kids.
Like when you think about, I know that you had talked about like military families, which is so extremely important, but I also know you have a lot of clients that aren't military as well. So I know that you're confident selling different destinations as well. What do you think your style is? Like if somebody is looking for a travel consultant, what makes you stand out? Like what would be different, the kind of style that you have for your...
We tend to be extra. Like my whole family, we're extra with everything we do.
Yeah.
We're always looking for that
Yeah.
extra. But extra is different to everybody. For somebody, it's just knowing where the picky foods are for their picky eaters. For somebody else, that extra is knowing where they can get their gluten-free or their allergy or how to go around that. So it's extra, but it looks different. It's not always over the top. It's just that little extra touch.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Laura?
I talk about multi-generational trips, and one of the things that I had to do is the scooters. Do you want to rent from the park or do you want it to come from an outside agency? Do you want 4 wheels versus 3 wheels? That makes a huge difference because getting on and off of the transportation is huge if you have
It
the wrong
is.
scooter. It
It
really
is.
is. And
It
then
can make or break
Literally
a trip.
never thought of that ever because I've never
Yeah.
had to use a scooter myself. That's crazy,
Mhm.
but it's so
Yeah.
true. And having that knowledge, how would you know unless you knew, right?
Right.
Mm,
Well, the baby
mhm.
care stations, knowing
Right.
what those were
Because if you're
is
planning
a
a trip for
fabulous idea.
multi-generational, you're talking about
Yes.
scooters and
Yes.
baby needs.
Yes. I had a niece she was 4 when we went, but she had a heart defect and she has lung issues and she was on oxygen for part of our trip. And we had to get her out of the heat sometimes because we went in June. I mean, it's hot. And
Mhm.
that's another thing that I talk to people about how hot it is in Florida in June.
It
But
is. Yeah.
Well,
Well, oxygen though, right? Oxygen's a big thing. I have family that has had to travel and setting that up. And whether you're talking about at the park or if you're talking about Disney Cruise Line, those are a lot of steps that people don't realize that you have to take that are really, really
Yeah.
important. Yeah. I think in knowing that you've got somebody that is in your corner for all of those things, right? Like when you're looking for somebody, if they're specializing in what the multi-generational, some of the things that other agents wouldn't think about. And it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just they hadn't dealt with it really.
haven't dealt with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
What do you think, Kayla?
For me, I've definitely taken more of an approach of maximizing every moment instead of maximizing your day. And so what that means
Like
is
that.
I have just gotten so fatigued over this is how you can get every single ride done and this is how you can do the most. And I'm like, gosh, it's exhausting. And I hate the normalization of, well, you didn't do your Disney trip right if you didn't come back totally exhausted. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that we should be promoting that. The clients that I find connect best with me are the ones that are like, listen, we've done the trip where we've done sun up to sundown, rope dropped fireworks. We've done that. We were exhausted. We hated that. That is not what we want, but we do love Disney, right? And so what I really focus on is helping my clients figure out what are the priorities, what is the feeling we want to get from this trip, and then actually getting the most out of that moment. We actually went to the parks. I went to the parks, Magic Kingdom, for the very first time with children, not my own because I don't have kids, but we had some friends that came and visited and we did the parks, and they had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And let me tell you, that changed my perspective so much on just visiting the parks because I help a ton of families with kids, but there is just a little bit different feeling when you're there doing it yourself. And she told me they have no concept of what a ride is. They've never done anything like that. So I don't even know if they're going to like rides. So we were like, great. Lightning Lane is not something that we're going to spend money on because that would be so silly. If we did that, then they hated rides, right? But she's like, but we're really into princesses. I was like, awesome. So we just spent as much time doing as many princessy things as we could. And we took our time. We weren't rushing around trying to go to here and go to there and do this and that and the other. We were like, we're going to do this and we're going to enjoy this moment. And they had the most amazing day. And being able to plan those types of things out, it just makes your trip so much better. And those are the types of things that I do with my clients is okay, yes, big picture, yes, details. Yes, I love making all my lovely little planning guides and whatever, but I'm like, I want to know what is going to make this feel really special for you.
I think one of my favorite things is even talking to you after that and hearing, I know the way that you plan trips for people. I know your clientele. I know that. And hearing you talk about it from that perspective, I feel like was a lot of fun for me hearing you and Mark Allen talk about watching the magic through the little ones that you had not seen before. I thought that was really, really special.
I think people just forget that sometimes. In the world of, do it all, maximizing everything. I think people just forget that you're taking a little kid with feet who are little legs that are 4 inches tall, right? They're not built for this idea of just conquering Disney. That's not what little kids are meant for. And I think just taking a minute to have someone who also recognizes that and is going to help you realize that, you're going to have a much better trip because
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
my favorite thing watching families with the little ones and just listening and watching it through their eyes and their excitement. And, sometimes I have to remind myself when I get, frustrated with something, I don't know, the crowds or something with, oh, that's not what it used to be. And it's like, Amy, like shut your mouth and pay it. Some of these people, we are very fortunate that we can see the fireworks whenever we want to go see them. Some people only get to see them once in their lifetime, like, perfect example of when they change things. So that's actually what I'm talking about, right? Like I was like an illuminations person, absolutely loved it. And then they keep changing things. And I'm just like, man, I'm like, just zip it and try to enjoy it in this moment because there's somebody that never saw the other that they offered. So this is what they're seeing, right? Or, I'm a big wishes, like that's my favorite thing, right? And it's just, watching it through other people's eyes always really brings me back to the whole core of why I even opened the agency and why I like to plan trips for people. It really does. It makes a big difference.
Well, and I think something really important with that too, right? So, like I said, I don't have kids, but I help tons of families that do have kids. And so I do know like how to plan a trip for a family with kids and stuff. And I think that's the thing about having an advisor is they're not just a random person who went to Disney once, right? They're not Aunt Sally who went a couple years ago and this was the experience they had. So this is what they're going to tell you to do, right? No, we're in this actively every single day, helping a very wide variety of people in a wide variety of situations, way different demographics, different dynamics. And so that experience is something that helps us be able to better help you, even if it's not something that we necessarily have like firsthand knowledge or like I have had families who come who have like PTSD and I message Trisha every time and I'm like, Trisha, I need some advice to give to this client. Please tell me how I can better help them, right? And like having that team of people who specialize in different things. And that's so important. Like you should really look for a travel advisor who specializes in something. People are just like, I'm a travel advisor. I can book everything. Yeah, we can all book everything. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be right for your trip.
What you just said, Kayla, because I was just going to ask each of you, like, hey, in your opinion, when you're thinking about somebody asking about a travel advisor, right? Like, what would your advice be to them? Like, they don't want to book with Goofy Getaways because their aunt owns, DW Shopping, whatever it is. What are the questions that are important when you're looking for a travel consultant? Sure, we would like to book everybody. That's not realistic, but I still want, even if someone's not booking their trip with us, I still want their experience to be incredible. So what are the questions that you think are most important for somebody to ask when looking for a travel advisor? And I was going to ask that. And then with what you just said, Kayla, was it definitely has to do with breaking down. Specialties are important if you've got people that really do specialize in certain things. What other kind of questions do you think that we should ask or people should ask?
I think that one of the most important ones is asking how they communicate. I think that this is huge and a lot of people don't think to ask this. Like I mentioned earlier, I use a third-party app with a lot of my clients and it's not like complicated, but if you're somebody who really does not understand how to use like a phone app or things like that, I'm probably not going to be the best agent for you. But there are other people on our team who primarily plan via phone call, in person, email, other options. And so making sure that the communication style is going to work for both of you. Because don't get me wrong, if you are somebody who you're like, nah, I like to talk on the phone, sure, I can totally help you. I'm going to be panicking the whole time because I don't like to talk on the phone. But I can help you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be the right fit, right? And so
I think that's the trick for me, right? Like as agency owner, when because we do have many quotes that come to the agency and like assigning them to the right agent. Sometimes people will say, oh, I've used Trisha before, so I want, and I'll go back to Trisha. But I think there's also a lot of times where they don't. They're like, hey, whoever, and it's really important. And we do ask those type of questions because I have agents that will only talk on the phone. And then I have agents who will be like, I'm not talking on the phone. I'll only do through email. And like, For me personally, I would rather do email, but also for me, if I have a agent that I'm thinking from my perspective, if they're like, they're never going to pick up the phone and talk to me, that wouldn't be somebody that would work for me either. So really figuring out the best way to communicate is probably the most important thing when you're looking for a travel advisor.
I think that's something that really sets us apart as an agency too. I know a lot of times the bigger agencies, they get so many quotes all day, every day, and they have so many agents. They're just like throwing people out and seeing what sticks, right? We actually really do try to take the time to make sure that any clients that come to the agency, that we're pairing them with somebody who's going to work well with them, someone who actually knows a lot about the destination they're wanting to do or the certain dynamic that their family has. We're not just throwing you to a random advisor. So if you really don't know, obviously you can go to the page on our website and you can totally read everybody's bios and see if you gel with somebody. But if you're again, because this is part of our job, is helping you navigate these decisions, you shouldn't have to just find somebody, right? Let us help you navigate that and pair you with someone that is actually going to work
put
well
a lot
with you.
of, and I where I don't like to be a prideful person, I take pride in that as an agency. It is something that we really do take serious, and we really do vet to make sure that that you're going to somebody that would work best for you. Something else that it makes me proud of our agency is we could have an agent that has booked the same person year after year after year for Disney, and then they come to them, they're like, look, I really want to do this new, Virgin Voyages. This is the new thing. We want to do this no kid trip. And I've had, it happens a lot. I myself have also handed clients that I've had over to agents that do specialize in that. And there are so many times our agents are open to that. Like, look, I'm not really good at booking that, but Kayla is like amazing at that. So reach out to Kayla. It's just the way that you work, because we genuinely at Goofy Getaways put the client's need first. Like, that is 100% what we do. And that's the philosophy we have. It's our own vision statements. Like, that's the most important thing, because we really want people to have the best experience no matter where they're going, no matter what destination that they're at. Kind of with us, what you see is what you get, right? Like, it's the real deal. We really want people to have a good time. And we work really, really closely together to make sure that we can do our part in that.
I think real basics. What are your hours of availability? When can I contact you? When can I expect a good answer from you? If you have somebody who works nights and is only available during the days, Laura may not be the best person because she's going to be pretty much tied up during the day. We have agents all over the country, up and down the coast, all in the middle. And somebody who lives in California is not a good client for me. But we have phenomenal agents in California who can get to them on their time zone, who can help them with their things. So I think just even really basic kind of goes back to that communication of those level set of expectations. Like, when can I contact you? When can I expect to hear back from you? And just being honest with your clients and yourself if it's a good fit or if it's not. Yeah. None of us want somebody to have a poor experience because we just happen to not be the right fit for them, just logistically, just kind of even right at the basics.
No, that's absolutely true. If you have somebody on the West Coast, a lot of times if we get quotes in, I will hand those West Coast ones off to the people in the West Coast, because it is all about what's the most convenient for everybody. I'll tell you something else that I always think about the specialty and what people specialize in destination wise, right? That's usually kind of what I think about. But when we talk about people in general, and something I know that, I personally do a lot of work with the Pride Chamber. And I'm really, really proud of our agency. The LGBTQ plus is something that we welcome, that we want to plan those trips. And you would be so surprised just by the work that I've done, the LGBTQ plus families that don't feel like there are safe spaces for them to go to book a trip. And I feel like it's a disservice to them. And it's something that I love about Goofy Getaways, knowing that we have agents, I shouldn't even say, we definitely have agents that specialize in that, but there isn't one agent that isn't going to help a family, any family of any type. And I love that, because every single experience, everyone should have the same experience, right? No matter who, all of that stuff doesn't matter. And we talk a lot about really that as an agency, because it's something that we take pride in. But there are just so many different, not just to single out one group, right? Like, you talk about different nationalities, we welcome all travelers. And Not all travel agencies do that. And I will say that, and I'll stand on that. So I think it's important to know what you want. And I think it's important for guests to feel safe. They feel safe with the people that and it's not even so much the people that are booking them. That part is important, but also that we know the destinations that are going to be safe for them. I mean, there are some places where I wouldn't have people go, with small children, depending on there are just so many different things that go into. I feel like we focus so much on Disney because we are, an earmarked agency. That is absolutely our passion. But there are other destinations too. And sometimes not just focusing on, those one destinations and what's best for a trip to Disney. But let's talk about what's best for if you want to go on an all-inclusive. Let's talk about what's best if you want to do something out of the country. I think that is what makes an agency stand out, is when you have diversity amongst your agency with people that do know all of the different destinations, but also the type of people that you're booking. It's just really, really important to me, and I'm passionate about it, which, you guys know, and we could keep talking about it for a long time, and I don't want to do that, but it's just, there are so many things that are important that go into planning a trip, more than what people honestly realize. And because this is just us, I want to talk about what are some red flags that you might be like, "Ooh, that isn't the agency for me." And you could even come to Goofy Getaways and be like, "Oh, that isn't like the right agency for me." And I have many friends that own agencies that are phenomenal people. So I'm not saying that we're the only agency out there. Obviously we're not, but let's talk about red flags amongst, like kind of in general when it comes to travel agencies. I'll just say one of the things that does drive me absolutely nuts, and then I'd love to pass it over to you guys, but I do not like agencies that absolutely upsell and it's only about the bottom dollar. Now, I am going to tell you, at our agency, we are not going to upsell you. What we are going to do is tell you the value of each and everything that we can book for you. I hate that when someone just wants to book the biggest trip, but they're not following through with why. You got to listen. I mean, there are people that definitely want the quick serve dining plan. And let me tell you, I have people that definitely want a deluxe dining plan. There are so many ways and intricate ways to work things out, but it drives me nuts when I have had friends or clients come to me and say, "Look, I decided not to book with them because the only thing that they would quote me were deluxe, or the only thing they would give me was the high." So I just think you need to make sure that whoever that you're going to really does listen to the needs we talk about it. What's your vision for your vacation? What is it that you want? I think that's important.
I was going to say arrogant. There's some agents that they are the end all be all. And I'm going to be human and I'm going to say, I haven't booked that trip yet. Let me find out about that question for you, or I'm going to at least talk to somebody. If I've not done it, I'm going to ask. And again, we pass it on if it's too over our heads, but a lot of times we have that extra, hey, let me ask. I can find that answer. I know that answer is around here somewhere. But the agents that are like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. We can do that no matter what."
Yeah. Or absolutely, you don't want to do that. That arrogance too. Yeah. Right? Like if you have a client that absolutely has their heart set on, I don't want to just pick out something like, there are definitely restaurants that aren't my favorite. How about that? And if somebody really has their heart set, you better believe I'm going to tell them, "Look, this is why I don't like it, but I am more than happy to have you try it out and then let me know how it was." But the arrogance of that, right? That's a really good point. Yeah. Trisha, what about you? Come on, you got to have one of those.
Agents who try to talk you out of stuff. My goal is to hear what you want and find a way to make it happen instead of doing that. "No, we can't do that," or "No, that's not going to work." I mean, yes, there's some things that will not work with certain budgets. That's just the reality of it. But where can we get that yes? What can we find for you? But just stop trying to talk your clients out of what they want. It's just so annoying. And I've heard it over and over again. I went to this agent and I told them I wanted to stay at the All-Stars. And they told me I was going to have the worst time ever at the All-Stars. I'm like, "Hey, I love the food court at the All-Stars. They got this really cute little cupcake." Get excited for what your client wants. Don't kind of yuck their yum. You know what I mean? Let's get excited for what they want.
I think along with that too, it's the education aspect. And so it's one of those, like, for the All-Stars, for example, like for some people, it's a fantastic option. For other people, it's going to be a nightmare. And our job as a travel advisor is to educate our client and being like, hey, I think that this is going to be so great if you love this, 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 and this. Just as a heads up, if this, or this is a concern for you, you may not enjoy this. And then you put the ball in their court, right? That is what our job is. It's not to tell people what to do. It's to advise them. And advice is advice. It's not commands, right? We're not telling people we have to do something. But I also think too, don't be afraid to talk to more than one advisor, right? It's the biggest thing it all comes down to is making sure that you mesh with your advisor, right? If you don't work well together, you're not going to have a great experience, right? And I don't say this to shop around to see who gets you the best price, right? Because that is so dumb, honestly, in my opinion. If you're doing that, you're really just wasting your time because the price is the price, right? It's very rare that people can come up with different prices. What you should be shopping around for is, okay, who's getting back to me in a good, timely manner? Who's giving me answers and actually explaining things, and who's just throwing numbers at me, right? Those are the kinds of things that when I say shop your agents, shop your advisors, talk to a couple if you've never worked with one before, and make sure that you're going to get the experience that you want, not just this is the first person I found, right? Same thing with real estate agents or your nail lady or anything. Like, sometimes it takes time to find the person that you work best with, and that's okay.
No, that's on my pet peeve list too, like just communication. And, I know they say that like 24 hours is really like the professional, like the courtesy, get back within 24 hours. Whether or not you agree with it, we live in a fast-paced world and people want to have answers much quicker than that. And if you're somebody that's cool with waiting 24 hours, then an agent might work really well for you. If you're somebody that wants someone that's going to be answering, I think it goes back to setting office hours. I'm huge on that as an agency owner. I really encourage agents, set office hours and make sure that you're communicating that with your client so that they know that when you are available, you are absolutely going to be on top of it. And then if it's a time that isn't, I think that those are things that are really, really important in those first conversations. But communication and in either lack of response time or quick response time they can make or break your whole entire planning of your trip. So yeah. Well, you guys, we did our season 2. That was our first episode. I think we talked about some really, really great things. And hopefully our listeners think that we really give you some good points, some things that you can take back when you're planning your trips. So we at Goofy Getaways would love to help you plan any of your trips. And we've got lots of us that can help you with different specialties. So check out our website. I know that we say that quite a bit, but if you want help finding your perfect travel advisor, we do have a wide range of expert travel advisors who specialize in all kinds of travel, all kinds of backgrounds. I love that about our company. And I think that if you checked out our website, you would love that about our company too. So you can visit goofygetaways.com, or you can go to the link in the description to learn more about how you can book a trip with us. So that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much. Thank you for my guest. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each of you so very, very much. And until next time, let Goofy Getaways lead you to the magic.